Now, we're going to be going to Spain in a minute to talk to Anne O'Keefe. Firstly, we want people to text in about Waterford FC. We haven't managed to get Alan Reynolds or any of the, main staff from the club this morning yet. I know Liz and the news team are trying to get them as well. So if that happens before the end of the programme, we'll have them on and we'll deal with the matters as arising. As we heard, Waterford are owned by former Ireland under-21 international Lee Power. They are been utilising the state's wage subsidy scheme to maintain salaries since the season was halted 6 weeks ago. However, without a clear roadmap, says John Fallon in The Examiner, on restarting the season and no clarity on compensation scheme for playing matches behind closed doors, the club has acted and let playing staff go. So we'll come back to that and a lot more. And a lot of texts coming in as well. Confirmations are not taking place on the 21st, says this person. Notifications went out some time ago. Good morning, I'm a West Waterford Republican. Can you please mention the 39th anniversary of Bobby Sands? Another text. Well done to Mike O'Sullivan and his team for holding a nice little socially distanced street party at Portlaw last night, and also to Ellie Long for feeding the crowd, and that's from Paul. So speaking of social distancing, we're going to go to Anne in Valencia. Are you in Valencia, Anne? You are?
Yes, I am, Damien. Yeah, I'm here, yes.
Good morning. Good to talk to you. How are you?
Very well, actually. A big change in mood in the last couple of days, I can tell you.
Yes.
It's been great.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll talk about that in a second. Just tell me a little bit about yourself first. You're a Waterford woman and you moved with your husband. Unfortunately, Eddie has passed away.
That's right.
How many years ago did you move to Spain?
We moved in the year 2000.
Okay, 20 years ago.
With our 14-year-old daughter, and we'd always had a sort of a little tiny holiday apartment there. And my husband retired early because through disability. So we just decided to make the break and came over to Spain, sent our daughter to school here, and it was the best thing we ever did. It was wonderful. We really enjoyed it. And
when did Eddie die?
Eddie died 3 years ago, 2016.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Different.
Then I left that little village where we lived all those years, and I moved up to Valencia, to the big city, because my daughter lives here, and it was just nice to be near her. And also, I don't drive, and if you're living in a little village, it's a bit awkward to get about. So it's suited me grand, the big city life. I love it. I really love it.
I've never been to Valencia. It's supposed to be a marvellous city. And how are you?
Oh my God, it's stunning.
Fabulous,
it's just wonderful. Yeah.
Are you in an apartment, Anne?
I'm in an apartment. I am. I have a lovely, spacious, sunny apartment. Beautiful park directly opposite me. Swimming pool across the street. And I'm right in the middle of the city. So, and I have a metro station, tube station just outside my door.
Sounds
so
good.
It's perfect. I'm very happy here. I am.
Now let's talk about how, we'll talk about the restrictions being lifted, because a lot of people would like to know from an Irish perspective as well what to expect. But just talk to me, how difficult has it been for the last 2 months?
It was pretty intense. It really was. I do very well on my own, and I have, a fairly big, very comfortable apartment. But I was beginning to suffer from cabin fever and loneliness. Just you have loads of calls and WhatsApps and phone calls and Zooms and Microsoft Teams, but it's not the same. It really isn't the same. And normally I have 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren in London, and they're over here in Valencia every chance they get. It's an ideal holiday for them, and we all get to be together. But obviously that's not possible at the moment. So yeah, I did feel a bit isolated.
Yes.
But you just do what you have to do. And
Spain was, as we know, Spain was one of the worst hit countries in the world, and I presume you're conscious of that, and you were basically saying you just don't want to get out there because it is so dangerous.
Well, we weren't allowed. I mean, we were in complete lockdown. I mean, the police were patrolling the streets. You were allowed to go to the pharmacy and to the supermarket, but you could be stopped by the police, and you had to show your your registration and your passport and your residency number and your address. I always had my papers with me anytime I did go out. It wasn't comfortable because, you felt slightly under threat. I mean, they were really, really nice and very kind, but it was to keep us safe, and everybody bought into it. I was very impressed actually with how people cooperated. Everybody was so good. Everybody's been wearing masks before ever they became compulsory. The big difference was children. There were no children on the street or in the park, so you couldn't hear the sound of kids. And kids are a huge part of Spanish society. Parents don't go out alone in the evening. They bring the kids with them. And you really would miss the sound of children around the place, from the playground opposite. And it felt very odd. So it was lovely when kids were allowed out again. But the buy-in and the cooperation was very, very good. But they do fine you. If you break the rules, the police will stop you and they will, you'll get an instant fine of up to €800. So,
wow.
People were very careful, very careful.
€800?
€800, yeah. If you're outside the zone in which you're supposed to be, or if you were out unnecessarily, or, if you broke the rules at all. But people didn't, to be honest with you. It got a bit scary for a while there in March. Every night we used to have helicopters overhead with making announcements and, searchlights beaming down from these helicopters. It was surreal. It really was. And
what's it like now? Tell me, Anne, what's happened now, and what are you allowed to do? And how's it actually working on a practical basis? Because that's what a lot of people will hear would like to know, yeah.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, it was way stricter than you've ever had it in Ireland. I mean, we weren't allowed out at all, except, to buy food, one person from the household, and to go to the pharmacy. That was it. Nothing else was allowed. So since the weekend, since Saturday, Sunday, the children have been allowed out for an hour's walk. And on Sunday then, everybody is allowed out for an hour's exercise, but you have your allotted time. You can't just wander out whenever it suits you. People and it makes a lot of sense because they don't want, say, old people, people over 70 competing with people on bikes, for instance, because we have a lot of cycling tracks all through the city. But they've designed it very well. I know people complain all the time, but it's actually very well designed to keep everybody safe. So people are just so relieved to be allowed out, because the style of life in Spain is very different in Ireland. People have very small apartments with a couple of kids. But they spend most of their time out of doors. People go home to go to bed. 11 o'clock on a January morning, you're sitting in the sun having your coffee. It's a lovely life.
Yes.
When it's taken away, it's a bit of a shock.
And it's very interesting. Do you want to say hello to anybody here in Ireland?
Oh yeah, I'd love to say hello to I have two sisters and three brothers in Ireland, in Waterford.
Okay, what's their names?
Johnny and Jimmy and Joe Hogan, and they're all around the city and all their families, of course. And I have two sisters, Mary and Helen. So yeah, I miss them because they come over a lot, and it's we don't know when they'll be coming again. So it's a bit difficult. And of course, I have my daughter Helen in Waterford. She lives in Dungarvan. So she missed her birthday last week. She was supposed to be coming over. We were going to have a big family get together here, but that didn't happen, obviously. So, but we look forward to it.
Yes,
it will come.
Stay safe, Anne. It's lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Lovely to talk to you, Damien. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anne O'Keefe there, a Waterford woman, as you heard, living in Valencia, talking about the experience of the Spanish lockdown Some lessons there, I suppose. We didn't have it as bad as Spain, but a lot of people this morning getting out and about for the first time as well. One man who has been out and about over the last 21 days is Frank Quinlan. Frank is a marvellous runner. We got a special mention as well from Trevor Walsh with the Waterford AC. Trevor is the chairperson. Just want to say thanks so much for everybody and for Frank, and so many people wished him well. He completed his epic journey yesterday, 21 kilometres, that's a half marathon, every day for 21 days. And Frank started to finish at his house at Hillview, and he kept within a 2-kilometre radius in terms of his running, and did a couple of laps, you could say, like that, a 2-kilometre radius. And he did it in an amazing, consistent time. So I went along yesterday and did a little interview with him and a few people beforehand. So this little package starts with John O'Neill.
I think it's good, yeah. I think it's fair play to him, like, to run 21k in 21 days, like, without getting injured even. You know what I mean? So, and then it's all for local charities as well. So, and he's right. Like, listen to the interviews. He's saying it's good for your mental health to get out and exercise. So fair play to him. It's good, and it's good to see a De La Salle man being active, and especially with the club and that. You know what I mean? So
he's inspirational, isn't he?
Exactly.
Well, lads,
keep going, well.
What's the names?
James Brennan.
James Brennan, yeah. And
Willie Chester.
How good a runner is Frank? What sort of a chap's he like?
Yeah, he's a great runner.
Just shows, like, doing 21 kilometres in 21 days. You know, it's an unbelievable achievement, and he's doing a great job for local charities as well. You know, so we're all out, everyone's out here to support him today.
Something else, isn't it?
Oh, it's unreal. Like, I mean, I does the running myself, but what he's doing is some achievement, like. I mean, even I'd be tired even thinking about it. Fair play to him, like, you know. So
I know he's been lucky as well with injuries. He could have got an injury the first day, any day at all.
Yeah.
But it's a sign of how he's kept his body, like, you know about running.
Definitely.
So well.
Like, you know, you get niggles the whole time and that. To stay kind of fit for the 21 days is unbelievable. Like, some achievement, like, just to be lucky with injuries and doing the pace he's doing is unreal. Like, for 21 days solid, like.
The same time nearly every day, like.
Consistency.
It's unbelievable, like, you know. Like, I know Frank years now, but I'd have to say now he's a very good athlete, like, you know. It's unbelievable what he's achieved, and the money he's raised as well. So hands down, like, it's unbelievable, like. Fair play to him.
Fair play to him anyway.
Well, what's your name?
Emily.
Emily what?
Power.
And do you live here?
Yeah.
Tell us about Frank. Why have you made a little note for Frank, a big poster?
Because he did 21 days of 5 kilometres.
21 kilometres. And what do you think of him? Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, do you know him? How well do you know him?
He just lives across the road from my daughter.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And he's a lovely chap.
Oh, he's great. Brilliant achievement altogether. Great stuff.
A nice crowd out today.
Oh,
it's
it's nice to see him. This is Auntie.
Hello, Auntie. Come on, Auntie. What's the Auntie's name?
Tina.
Tina.
Tina what?
Tina Quinlan.
Tina, tell us about Frank. I've got to know him over this. He's a lovely chap.
He is a lovely chap. I'm very jealous to him. It's no easy feat what he's after doing. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, really
he's brilliant.
proud of him.
Yeah, really proud of him.
And he's really modest as well. He's a humble chap.
He is. I think he'll enjoy the people that are out here today now, but I'd say at the same time he'll be a bit embarrassed.
And it's a nice day for it, which is good.
It's a lovely day. That's his aunt. His mum and dad are over there
in the grey.
Where's the mammy? It's just Mrs. Quinlan here, is it?
That's right.
Hello, Miss Quinlan. I won't shake hands with you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks very much.
Nice day.
Very, very, very exciting now. We're waiting for him to come in, so hopefully it's a great achievement for him, sure, isn't it? Really and truly, yeah. I'm delighted for him. Yeah.
Was he always running from a young age?
Not really. He started, you know, the Thursday evening run. He started running and soon found that he passed everybody out. He was. That's really only when he discovered that he could really run fast. That he was and then from there on in, once he started, there was no stopping. He's been running since, and he enjoys it, and it's great for. He always said it's great for his mental health and his well-being, you know. So that's where he's coming from.
Here he is now. Frank, how do you feel?
Not too bad. Considering I still know he feels.
Huh?
I said I still know he feels.
Dylan, come on over here.
I had a little sore hip the last week, so felt great all the way. Went for a kind of sub 60 10 miles, so I literally took it easy then when Dylan met me last 10. So delighted. Just thank everybody for the support. I would not have done this without seeing every single penny of a donation. That kept me going every day. Every day before I started my run, I saw how much was raised, and that inspired me and motivated me to go and run. It just was so emotional driving down from where I work in Joseph O'Brien's to see the amount of money being raised. Every day it was going up and up and up. So I can't thank the Waterford people. The generosity and the compassion and the sense of kind of solidarity in Waterford was just unbelievable. And as I said, I would not be able to do them. And as I said, I did it for mental health charities because exercise is the key to life. And the more you exercise, the more you feel good, the more the words suicide, mental health, depression, they would not be used half as much if people just go out for a walk, run, just literally get out in the fresh air. We have the Greenway, we have the Sandhills, we have Tremor, we have the Copper Coast, we have loads and loads of places in Waterford.
This is the twin sister here, is it? How are you?
How are you?
You proud?
Very, very proud. My goodness me. I said I might take up running myself. We're going out in the Greenway tonight, myself and my sister-in-law, but you can wait 10 years to come out and see me.
It's fabulous though, isn't it?
Oh my God, he's an inspiration to everybody. And of course, it's much needed for the local charity, so I think that was his main aim. So, brilliant altogether.
You had the champagne out for him?
Had the champagne out, yeah. Wish we had more.
And like the sense of community in Waterford from this is just after blowing me away.
That's
and I
brilliant.
can't.
Big round of applause.
I just want to say one more thing. Like the real heroes, I did this because I love running and I want to inspire people, but the real heroes are the people going into work on a daily basis, putting their lives at risk and putting their families' lives at risk to help others. I said that inspired me to do this. I said thank you very much to every single one of them. Thank you.
Well done, Frank.
Well done, Frank. And so many people texting in well done to Frank and on Facebook last night. Well done to Noel Brown and to everybody else that was filming it there, Paul and the other lads, and well done. And I think from what I understand, Frank has raised at least 14,000, possibly up to 15,000 now already. Phenomenal achievement. Frank, fair play to you. Now, still to come, we're going to be talking to Leonard Kieran, a Waterford writer who has just published his first book, Saga of the Deise. Trevor Darmody's going to be talking to us in a minute about theatre and I suppose the music and when classes are going to resume. And Celia Walsh, Director of Waterford Teachers Centre, on children's poetry competition. Some text coming in. Lights out in Ballybeg Court. Any idea when they can be fixed? Good morning. Just wondering, I'm trying to find out if there are any guidelines for carrying out a wedding with just a couple and two witnesses. Nobody seems to know. Good morning. I think they've forgotten a group when talking about the Leaving Cert at the present 50 years who are been preparing for next year's Leaving Cert but who don't know now what's going to happen. Some people texting again about the Leaving Cert and the stress. My son is under, says this Mammy. I've tried to reassure him that it doesn't bother us what results he gets. He tries his best. Personally, I don't think every child can adapt to online studying, and I think it's so unfair to ask them to sit such a big exam with all that's going on in the world. Maybe it should be cancelled and predictive marking take place just for this year in these extraordinary circumstances. Damien, any idea if the Greenway in Kilmeaden is open now? We'll try and find out. Another texter to our WhatsApp. I think all the pubs and restaurants shouldn't open until they all have toilet doors opening outwards, as lots of people don't wash their hands after using the toilet. Ooh, that's not good. Trevor, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Damien. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Owner of WAMA, Waterford Academy of Music and Theatre Box. Firstly, tell me a little bit about, just remind our listeners about WAMA. How many students, how many participants would you have in any given year?
Right, okay. Well, we're a fairly big operation now. We have a lot of, we do a lot of group-based stuff. We do dance and drama, we do art, we do singing, and we do lots of musical instruments as well. So there'll be, guitar, bass, drums, mandolin, banjo, violin, cello. And we have 26 of us working here, would you believe?
Wow.
And in any given year we could have, there's actually hundreds of us, hundreds of students, should I say. So somewhere between 500-600 students will come through our doors each year,
That's phenomenal. And what have you been doing since the crisis started? Have you put everybody on the COVID payment, or what's happened?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was all a bit up in the air when it started at first. It came as a big surprise to us. So yeah, we were all laid off basically. But at first then, we kind of thought it was only going to be a 2-week thing, and then maybe it was only going to be another 3 weeks after that. So we kind of didn't know where we stood. So at least at the weekend when the 5-phase plan came out, we have some sort of a light at the end of the tunnel now to see where we're headed, I'd say probably a lot of, all the group-based stuff is looking like a September start now. But we might have, looking at the documentation, it looks like we might be able to kick off the one-to-one lessons a bit sooner than that, maybe towards the end of July.
Yeah, one-to-one looks like potentially being in what's called phase 4, maybe the end of phase 3, and then phase 5 possibly for group sessions. Again, these can be a bit fluid, as we know. If there is a further outbreak of COVID, things might go back, but if things progress better. What plans are you going to be doing, Trevor, to try and facilitate, let's say, one-to-ones first? How's it going to work?
Well, I mean, it's between now and September, what we've been doing is keeping in contact with the students. So say for myself, I teach guitar and ukulele, so I've been sort of setting up WhatsApp groups and keeping in contact with the students at least, and giving them a bit of, a few materials to work on, so that they can kind of keep their toe dipped in the water until we can get back to things. But when we do get back, I suppose we're just going to have to make sure, that we're well trained in terms of keeping social distance between us. I mean, that's a lot easier to do with the one-to-one based stuff. The group-based stuff, like the dance lessons, all the theatre box stuff that we do, the drama. We have large dance studios and a couple of large drama rooms as well. So at least we'll be able to give each student their own sort of designated space. But it's not easy either, and it's going to have to be a good bit of thought put into that before we kick it off,
And from a costings perspective, again, will you be able to survive or reopen on a phase basis, make money out of it? Because obviously your returns are going to be a lot less limited if you don't have as many pupils there and you can't cater for as many.
Well, that's it, you see. I'd hope, I'd be somewhat optimistic that by September that we would hopefully be more or less be able to be back in full flight. If we're able to implement the social distancing sort of rules into our lessons, then we're hoping that we'll be able to more or less be back to full swing. Now, who knows? Let's see what way the summer pans out. But if things are going the way they're going now, I would be kind of optimistic that we would be able to open back up fairly full flight. I mean, there's another arm to the business that we have. We have a little theatre in our building called the Live Room. I'd say that's going to be pretty much wiped out. I mean, I don't think we're going to be doing anything with that until maybe there's a vaccine out, because it would be impossible. Like, we'd have open mic nights. We'd have, there's plenty of nights where we invite in bands to play, or we'd have discos, that sort of thing. And it'd be very difficult to try and control an audience, to be keeping their distance, especially with children, So I'd say that side of it is gone for the time being, but we would be optimistic that for the one-to-one lessons and the group lessons, and when I say group, I mean our group lessons aren't all that big anyway. You're talking maybe 12 people, so when you have a large dance studio, it is possible to keep everyone separate,
Yeah, you'll try and work it out. And I suppose that brings the last question then, Trevor. You would hope to get as many of those staff back working as possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do feel sorry for the staff because they were really hit because for all of those, I mean, the majority of my staff anyway are musicians. So they would have had a kind of a dual existence. They would have been teaching during the weekdays, and the other half of their income then would have been out playing gigs. And I mean, everything was just completely down to zero for them, And I think they'll be itching to get back to the teaching side of things, because I don't see the gig side of things being as plentiful or as lucrative in the short term, certainly between now and next January kind of thing. I would imagine the scale of the number of gigs would be way down. So that side of their income will be gone. So, certainly from all this, I'm keeping in regular contact with my own staff, and they just can't wait to get back to things, So, to answer your question, I'm confident that they'll be certainly coming back on board anyway in September,
Okay, Trevor, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch up with you later in the summer, yeah?
Yeah, no problem, Damien. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to talk to you. Mind yourself. Trevor Darmody, owner of WAMA, Waterford Academy of Music and Theatre Box. Let us know what you think. Do you think it's going to be feasible to do it? There are other dance groups, so many different dance groups and theatre groups and music groups across the city, county and the South East. Let us know what you think. Some people have been phoning in to Laura 051846123 asking about are all graveyards and cemeteries opened. A lady wanted to visit her husband. A text in from a cocooner. Can people over 70 go for a drive within 5 kilometres? Yes, you can. That's what has been said by the government. So best of luck. Take care and drive safe. Damien, can you please give a special mention regarding the fundraiser, Dungarvan Hospital? Most of the people were from Tallow. There was no one from Lismore in it. The only other person was Garda Jackie Keown. It was filmed at Woodview Park in Tallow. Thank you. That's from Elizabeth Henley. Yes, it was Tallow, and I meant to say Tallow during the thing. We might be talking to John about that tomorrow as well. Lovely to hear Anne from Spain. She taught me in the Ursuline a long time ago. That's from Jacqueline Kelly O'Mahony. Sorry to hear that Eddie has died. Damien, what's the situation with the water in Fuse? Some people have had no water for weeks. Can you try and find out, please? We will. I didn't know about that. Can you give a mention, says another texter, to the Bishop Blessed Edmund Rice today. It's his feast day. We owe him so much. That's from Christine in Carrick-on-Shore. And Liam has texted in about social distancing, washing the hands. As far as businesses like pubs are concerned, they're acting like children instead of acting with prudence. And he says that pubs should not be opened yet. Let us know what you think. Next, we're going to be talking about the saga of the Deise. Now, a lot of people out and about walking. Anna in Cappoquin is saying their first walk by the river after 7 weeks. Oh boy, it did feel good. The birds singing, the fish jumping and the fresh air. We might play a little song for all those cocooners who are out and about before the end of the programme. Firstly, I'm going to go to Leonard Kieran. Good morning, Leonard.
Morning, Damien. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. Thanks for coming on. You're a Waterford writer. You've just published your book, your first book, Saga of the Deise. Tell me a little bit about yourself first. You graduated at WIT. You're from the city, are you?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Waterford. I graduated from WIT with a Master's of Science in 2007. And I've had a strong love of history since I was a kid, really.
Very good. And you've had this fascination, as you say, with the rallying cry, the Deise tribe. And you've published this book. I'll give out the details again at the end of the programme. It's available for sale on Amazon for $16.99 and it's self-published. It's a 152-page paperback, full-colour illustrations. Tell me about what you found out in your research regarding this.
Well, it's a bit of an interesting thing, the fact that there isn't one clear definitive history on the Deise. There's like numerous different types of theories. There is that they came from like of France, they came from, they always were in Ireland, and probably the main one that I kind of looked in was our storyline called The Expulsion of the Deise, which deals with the Deise who lived up in around Meath and their little adventure down towards what's now Waterford.
Okay, and what about the actual name, the Deise? Where does it come from? As you say, there's a bit of conflicting, but tell us, what do you think? Where do you think it came from in terms of the research you've done?
According to what I can find out, it's based off the very old Irish for the word Deise, which means vassal, as the Deise came apparently from kind of like a small vassal state up in County Meath, who then got expelled after they had an argument with the King of Tara.
Okay, and what have you found then in terms of how the Deise tribe lived and their religions and their beliefs? Tell me a little bit about that, please.
Well, they lived from things like ring force, they followed the Breton laws, which were kind of the main laws in Ireland from pagan times, and were still largely used in Ireland up to about the 17th century. The beliefs were actually quite interesting, already starting off pagan beliefs, worshipping everything from nature, various idols, and things like the group, the Tour de Zidane, before St. Declan came and converted into Christianity in about the 400 AD.
And in terms of the history of the book, I was looking at the blurb on it, and it traces the connections, I suppose, that people that lived in Waterford from the 3rd century AD to beyond the Norman invasion. In terms of the sources and locating the, I suppose, source material on this, what are we looking at? Are we looking at writings? Are we looking at drawings? Are we looking at... Where did you get this material from to verify your theories?
Basically, I went... There was a lot of reading and research both online and in the city room in the library, pouring through books upon books and articles. Basically, any mere mention of the Deise, I started looking into it. But that was the thing that also kind of drove me to write this book, was that when I was doing some research for some of my history leaflets in both St. Patrick's, Gateway Centre, and in Carter Lane, the Deise are hardly mentioned in Waterford history. It goes from, there was a tribe in the Deise, and then it just goes straight to Vikings. And it's almost like they're becoming a footnote in their own history.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. The phone line is not great, Leonard, so I'm going to leave you, but what I'm going to do is give another mention to it. So it's a 152-page paperback, full-colour illustrations. It's called The Saga of the Deise. So if somebody just goes onto Amazon and just types in Saga of the Deise, they'll be able to find it, and $16.99. So well done on the publication. Fair play to you.
Thank you.
Do you have another book in you yet now?
Couple of one or two ideas, but nothing concrete.
Okay, well, let us know. Leonard, thanks very much for joining us, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard Kieran there on that book, Saga of the Deise. So if you want to get that and let us know what you think about it. Marie has texted in regarding children going to school. I'm texting about the very vulnerable group of 11 to 12-year-old 6th-class pupils. The government should consider bringing these pupils back to school in preparation for secondary school. They're very worried about the transition. Most schools have all-purpose halls, so distancing shouldn't be a problem. These children have the most to lose. No confirmation, no graduation, no goodbye to teachers or friends. This has been their home for the past 8 years. I'm thinking of my grandchildren who'll be leaving a small country school of 200 pupils, heading into a big city school of 800 pupils. So worrying for parents who have to reassure their children continuously. Children may suffer mentally because of this as well. It's very unfair, says Marie. What do you think? 083 333 975. We've got a text in from Laura about fuel prices, and we'll have a look at this tomorrow. The difference in fuel prices. A lot of people saying in South Wexford fuel prices a lot cheaper than Waterford. Why is that? Good morning. It seems Micheál Martin wants to be crowned Taoiseach at any cost. Fianna Fáil grassroots members from Waterford to Donegal will be expressing their anger. This was not a mandate given by the leader for all those who canvassed door to door during elections. Final decisions in the event of no Ardèche, a postal or digital vote is required. The membership shall have their say and vote accordingly. And the front page of the Munster Express made sure to support local newspapers. Has a reflection of that today. We'll be looking at that story hopefully tomorrow. Now stay with us. We are going to be talking to Celia Walsh, Director of Waterford Teacher Centre, in a minute. Firstly, a few texts. I can't wait for the pubs to open and sick of not being able to go. The Greens are still exercising people's minds. The Greens would be mad to get involved with Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. They'll be thrown under the bus. The first thing that goes wrong. And Billy in Lismore says the travel restrictions stopped people in Lismore from participating in the video with John Pratt. There's lots of Tallow people staying and working in St Cartridge's Rest Home. It's a wonderful facility in Lismore, and as I say, we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. Now I think we'll go to Celia. Good morning, Celia.
Hi, Damien. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Director of Waterford Teacher Centre, and you have a children's poetry competition. Tell us about this, please.
Yeah, well, all the pupils of the schools are at home at the moment, and we're all trying to find ways to stimulate them and motivate them now that it's been going on for a few weeks and keep them interested in their learning. So we've had a tradition of having write a book competition and projects like that in the last, say, 2 decades, really. So we kind of wanted to keep that tradition going with the kids at home. So I suppose one way of accessing that type of project is to provide an online opportunity for the children to compose a poem and to submit it. And one of our tutors and published poet is going to take on the role of judge and judge all the entries. And we have quite a range of book tokens that we're going to produce for prizes for the children when the judging is done.
Yeah, I saw that. There's some nice prizes, €50 book vouchers, €30 book vouchers. So tell me, what sort of themes or what length should the poems be?
Well, we are absolutely open to any theme under the sun. So we want children's imagination to be as wide and as varied as possible. And we don't mind if poems are short or long. I mean, 2 or 3 lines is actually as acceptable as something that's 2 pages. So because we have our competition running from junior infants right up to leaving cert. So there's categories, obviously, all the way 6 categories. So we would anticipate, that the older children might do a bit longer and the younger kids will do something shorter. But Seamus is very experienced as a poet, has published Seamus Cashman, our judge, he has published 3 collections of poetry himself. So he's going to take the children's age and the ability into consideration. The length won't be necessarily the criterion, it won't be judged on actually the length, because you can get quite a short poem that can be so brilliant in a few lines, as compared to maybe a really long one that doesn't hit the same heights of excellence, So it's very much the child's own thoughts, really. And
I hope, like one of the Simpsons episodes, that the parents don't help the children.
Well, that would be a pity now if the parents were to contribute. But just on that, when you mention it, one of our teachers in our catchment area suggested having a teachers' competition. So rather than confuse matters, we're going to wait till our children's entries are all in, and the closing date is this Friday by 5 p.m. And next week we're going to host a teachers' poetry competition, because we have published collections of teachers' writings in the past in our centre and raise money for charity, through that publication. But certainly next week we'll be looking for teachers to send in their poems. So if adults want to write and they're in the teaching or education area, they certainly will have an opportunity. So we'd ask on this occasion, let the children get on with their own work, and we just to say that the email address to send them into is one of our administrators, Lillian Purcell at wtc.ie, and Lillian is going to look after all the entries and organise them and then forward them on to Seamus for judging.
Okay, so if people haven't a pen beside them or whatever, it's Waterford Teachers Centre. So if they even if they typed in Waterford Teachers Centre into Google, you should be able to find a link to that. Is that it?
Absolutely. And the flyer for the poetry competition is up on our Facebook page, Waterford Teachers Centre Facebook page, if people want to look at that. And all the schools have been notified about this, and they've sent out the link through their teachers. But we are aware, of course, that not everyone has access to good broadband or even to devices. So if people are listening, if they want to email it in, it's Lillian Purcell, LILLIANPURCELL at WTC.ie.
Okay.
And Lillian, and closing date 5 p.m. This Friday coming. We don't want it going on forever. I think kids would like to get their prizes fairly soon, so they can get their book.
No, it's a lovely idea. Yeah. Well, listen, when you have a winner or a couple of winners, maybe on Friday, we might do a little piece next week, read out a few of the poems if you'd like.
Absolutely. And just to say, when all the entries are in on Friday, we're going to post them up on our website so people can read them, and a link on our Facebook page as well. And as a former principal myself, I know it's you need constantly to motivate the kids. And I think, that if they know their poem is going to be read by a wide audience, that will certainly motivate them a bit to know, even if they're not a prize winner, their poem will be up there,
Yes.
So that will be nice for them to see it in print. And just to say, I suppose, on behalf of the Waterford Teacher Centre, congrats to all of the teachers and the pupils who've been doing amazing work and teaching children online. We've been supporting the local teachers in that regard and providing training for them using the online technology for education. And if what people have taken on and done is just incredible in supporting their pupils and providing, stimulating and interesting learning experiences for them. It's just been phenomenal, the transition over the few weeks,
Lovely, well done. Listen, Celia, thank you so much and continued success to you and everybody at Waterford Teacher Centre. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking this time for us. Yeah,
Not at all, you're really welcome.
Bye now.
Thanks, Celia. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Celia Walsh there, Director of Waterford Teacher Centre, and that's the children's poetry competition. So just Google Waterford Teacher Centre and you'll be able to find a link to that. And if you have any problems, give us a ring here at the station to 051 846 123 and we will hopefully be able to provide you with the link. Mary phoned in to say she was shopping. This is a bit disturbing now. Listen to this. She was shopping in a supermarket in Dungarvan on Friday. There's arrows for directions to go up and down the aisles. I went up instead of down one particular aisle. In other words, she went the wrong aisle accidentally. She put her head down to check her list and it was completely my own fault. A man said, "Did you not see the arrows?" A customer. I ignored his comments and tried to get to the other end of the aisle as fast as I could. He said, "You're at risk from the virus. And, oh, by the way, I have the virus," and he coughed at me a few times. I was horrified. They're giving out about younger people coughing at the guards, etc., but this man was in his late 50s or his 60s. I couldn't believe he claimed to have the virus and then cough at me. As if these times aren't stressful enough. That's quite disturbing now, not very nice at all. Thank you, Mary, for ringing us in with that comment. Rosemary Lynch has said, could you please say happy birthday to Rita Barry, celebrating her birthday today. I don't know if I'll be able to play that song. I'm going to play something else. No need for the pubs to open early, says this texter. I'm an avid pub goer, but surely people can go without them for another few weeks. And we had a number of other texts in. Peter sent us a text in. Can you please say a special well done to the select group of residents from Hazelbourne and one lady in particular, I don't know her name, for their civic mindedness and hard work in clearing the weeds from a long stretch on the Clayboy Road footpath. They've done a superb job. Much appreciated by all the neighbours opposite, and also the cleaning up that's been done around the Clayboy Road. It's regarding dog poo. It's got very, very bad, says Peter. The Greens, says this texter, the agenda wants to cut our national herd, for example. Where will the beef come from that the EU countries eat then? Will it come from Argentina? It's still affecting our world. Stop Germany or France making cars, China will step in. Now, Peter, the Greens would say that a lot of arguments and a lot of points that you're making, they could argue very strongly that they have plans in place to work with different parties regarding all those matters. Now, thanks very much for joining us today. Keep your texts and comments coming in. If we get any more, we will read them out for tomorrow. We're going to play a nice little feeling good song for the end of the programme. Julie suggested this. This is Nina Simone. Thank you, Julie, for producing. Thanks to all our news team. Jeff is up next. Stay safe, and if you're out and about, are you walking on sunshine? It might be a little bit cloudy, but stay safe and have a good day. Take care.